thank you for attending. This is a great turnout. And it's very important that the community comes together for our discussions. And what I was asked to focus on is not Ferguson, but mostly the Moscow Police Department and what we do. But just preface that, with all the national events that have been occurring, there's been a question of police legitimacy. And within that, it's very important to ensure the community here that we are going to stay engaged and active within our role to continue to build the trust that we need to do our jobs. Any effectiveness of, as you've seen through the police department, is based on its community support. And when certain things happen and that confidence is challenged or is questioned, then it just makes our job a lot more difficult in trying to work within a community, especially when we can't form any type of partnerships. And within that, when we're seen as occupiers instead of protectors, trust, community cooperation, and our partnerships, which we need to do our jobs, are undermined. What is reassuring, but is little reported, is that overwhelmingly the majority of police officers are out there doing their job day in, day out in a very competent manner. And they are faced with the most difficult challenges of working under unpredictable conditions when they're trying to do their job. But most are respecting and upholding the constitutional rights of the citizens they have been told and sworn by oath to protect. What I and other law enforcement leaders at this point can gain from this is that as the tensions occur across the nations, to recognize what those areas are and be prepared here for when we are faced with those same conditions, to ensure that we don't abuse that accountability, that authority that is given to us by our community and by our elected leaders and by the laws of this country and the state and city. There's no question that several departments throughout this country have failed in their role as protectors. Currently, there are 20 agencies throughout the country that have been or under DOJ or Department of Justice investigations. So we can look from that point of view of what are these agencies doing? What are the officers and the culture within those departments that are creating the tensions, or why are they acting in the way they're doing it? And the DOJ brings us those benchmarks to look at and to evaluate ourselves. And what's been discussed here and what you've seen in the media is there are actual civil right violations, and when there's a pattern or a practice that exists, they undermine what we do, and that's what we need to focus on. And those most areas that are under these investigations, first and foremost, are unlawful or excessive use of force. Followed right behind that is inadequate training on the use of force techniques. Then we have racial profiling. Most of that is done through traffic stops or citizen contacts. And then we have an intimidation by the police to the community. And then there's a failure to investigate allegations of police misconduct. Back in 2002, it was decided that we should seek accreditation. And what accreditation does is brings the best practices and policies that are out there that kind of give us an accountability to say, these areas are here. And this is what we need to do to develop policies and procedures. And through that, we have focused on these areas since we've been accredited, even before I got here in 1999, but there was processes to do this. Focus on use of force and how it's used within the community and by our officers, and then also to follow up on any kind of complaints and a process that is seen as a legitimate complaint process that's fair and open. And then also, if anybody's constitutional rights are violated, then we follow up on those also. Within the department, And you hear it as a term that's going to be focused on a lot, but it's called community policing, and that's the philosophy that's been used here in Moscow even before I arrived. Chief Brown, back, I believe, in 1992, when he came here, instituted community policing, and that philosophy means that we will police what the community deems necessary and as areas of concern that they believe affect their quality of life. And to do that, we form partnerships with the community, with other police agencies, with other nonprofit agencies, and with local businesses. And we develop through a problem-solving technique to address those problems as they arise. When I came here, there was the ride-along program. Every community member can come in, fill out a ride-along request, and you can sit with an officer in a car and patrol with him as he does his job. And it's transparent. There's no hiding what he does because you're sitting in the car and there's no control over what's coming across that radio, what he's doing, and how is he performing that service. So if you haven't participated in a ride-along program, if you want to, please be encouraged to come by or go online and fill out our ride-along request, and we will accommodate you. Another program that I believe Chief Brown worked and through Chief Weaver was Bike Patrol. When I started the department back in the dinosaur age, back in Oklahoma City, we had police cars. And we were told that we would patrol in those police cars, and then we'd go out and we'd stop the bad guys, make a report, and then we'd go back out. What happened was, being in those police cars separated us and formed a barrier between us and interactions with our community members. And when you put an officer on a bicycle, or you put him out on foot, and he's engaged in the community, he's going to, or she's going to talk and interact with the community members. When I arrived, I looked at it and I said, well, wouldn't it be nice that if we could develop a Citizens Police Academy, that would give another opportunity for our community members to come inside our department and let's spend 10 weeks, one night a week, and let's explain to them what we do, how we do it, and why we do it. And it's not a forum like where you're sitting here. It's one where we can have one-on-one contacts with community members, and we try to restrict that to about 25 people. So those officers that do the job come in and tell you what they do and why we do it, and they show you the tools we have and what the tools are used for. So we are currently advertising for the Citizens Police Academy, so if you haven't been and you want to attend, please fill out an application. It begins next month, and it'll go through April. We try to do our academy concurrent with the semester, the spring semester at the university, so college students can take part in that also. But we encourage our community members to do it, and we're currently in our 15th year. So please, if you're interested, come and visit with us. We'd love to have you. We have a few seats left, and we try to say it's a first come, first served. But only that interaction with our community members to come to this academy keeps it going. Because if nobody showed up, there wouldn't be any reason to do it. Other things that are current that we are involved in, that we see ourselves outside the law enforcement role is, as you've heard, we had a drug court that happened about 4 years ago, and then we had a mental health court. And one of the commanders that's here now is very active in that as a partnership to provide the law enforcement perspective and accountability to those individuals that we believe don't need to be in prison or don't need to be in jail. They need to have restored rehabilitation with a support group that provides with them. And it's very encouraging to see that this actually happened here, especially on mental health courts. We have various task forces that we have been participating in, and if you know the recent community issues that we've had, some of those task forces includes the Guns on Campus. Previous to that, we had the Alcohol and Substance Abuse Task Force at the university. We also have the Greek Task Force, and we have a recently formed, I would say in my tenure, in the last 5 years, a task force that is in response to sexual assaults and domestic violence, a very important and critical issue within this community. And we bring together our partners within the medical profession, within the prosecution, within the violence, within the counseling, within the university, to come together and work on protocols that we provide the best service we can. We also engage with our community through community events. I don't know how many of you have been to the safety fair. It's now called the Officer Lee Newbill Safety Fair. But it's where we go out and we set up things to show you what we do, and we try to interact with you. We also have a national night out against crime because we understand crime prevention starts at the grassroots efforts and levels here within the community by each citizen at a time. Right now, right across the street, we have a Live at 25 program. One of the critical issues that is important is a program that can bring youthful drivers into an educational scene to tell them what the risky behaviors are and how to prevent it, especially aggressive driving, texting while driving, and using your seatbelt. And this program evolved out of an effort that we tried to reach out to driver's ed, and then we said, why don't we go out and when we are doing traffic enforcement, if we're meeting with our community members and they're between the age of 14 and 24, let's give them the opportunity of diversion. And I don't know if you want to call it, I guess, a pressure to get the ticket released off of you, but if you go through this educational time that discusses what issues happen and what is the loss of one life or the injuries that occur within these behaviors, then I think it's a very valuable program in itself. But it's something that we just started 2 years ago. We have a child safety seat program that, for those community members that don't have the resources to purchase seats. We go through grant programs and we will provide those free of charges, and also at the same time show the proper ways to restrain children and put that seatbelt in so the child is protected. When I came here also, it was, I did meet some resistance, but I wanted to create a traffic officer program where an officer would be dedicated to traffic, because it is a program that needs to be. A lot of our complaints from our community members come from people driving down the streets or speeding or running stop signs or out here in the crosswalks or bicycles where you're interacting, and we need an officer that's devoted to that. And then also bringing in a school resource officer, which was kind of strange to me, because when I brought it up to the Moscow High School, I said, I will take one of my officers out of rotation and put him in as a school resource officer. I got some pushback from the community, which I had to say, well, that kind of, in my filtering system, as you say, frame, why would nobody want a police officer in a school to interact with our most valuable resource, our children? And I guess it was to the point where they didn't want a gun in the school. So we worked with the school and developed a soft uniform and developed protocols that would actually get us into the school as a liaison program. And then comes the big recession here, and we lost 4 positions. So guess what? 2 positions we had to lose, because our primary mission is to protect and go out and respond to calls and address crime. Well, luckily for us, we applied through the federal government for some COP grants, and they also saw the need and agreed with us, and we were able to bring those 2 positions back through federal grants, and through our community support and our elected officials, they see the need for that to continue because funding runs out this next February, but they gave me a commitment that they also feel that that's a necessary tool for us to be out within our community. Our biggest partner, of course, you would realize, is the University of Idaho, and we work with them on a contractual basis. We have specific officers that provide services and also interface with them through concerns they have, but also in the educational sense. We live in a transitional community. Every year we have students that move out or move in, and then every once in a while our professors leave or staff and faculty move on and come in. So it's a continuing educational process for us to go in and tell students what their police department will be doing and what we look at to enforce, and then what risky behaviors to avoid. So, and through all of that, I believe we've come to the point where you know what we are doing. We want to know if we're doing it right, and we do that through surveys. The city itself does a biannual survey, and then we ourselves send out surveys each week to those that we meet, and we get feedback from them to say, are we doing what you want? And what is that level of expectations? Moscow is an inclusive community. People welcome everyone here, and that's what makes our job so much easier within the tensions. And through the Human Rights Commission with the City of Moscow and the Latah Human Rights Task Force, I believe they keep us where we need to be if there's issues that come up, and within our connections with them through the commissions and the task force, we address those. So thank you for your time.